All right. Welcome to Full Gear. We got a lot of blood. We got a lot of wrestling. But did we get good stories? This is what this comes down to, guys. And I know not everyone's going to agree with me. I'm sure many people are going to say this was incredible. But there's going to be people who's going to say, what did we really get? Is this any different from Blood and Guts? Because we got a lot of blood and a lot of wrestling. But did we get good stories? This is the linchpin of all of this. 100%. Did we get good stories? And I'm going to tell you this before we even get started. If you look at for the last year, from November of last year to November of this year, we have not been getting good stories. No matter what anyone says, no matter if you love the wrestling, the storytelling has been bad. Except for a few instances like Hangman Page. Maybe to a certain extent, you see with, Mark Briscoe to a certain extent. MJF to a certain extent. Swerve definitely to a certain, very good extent with Hangman Page. You could easily say they were good storytelling to a certain extent. But overall, when you look at the shows of Dynamite, of Collision, not counting ROH, the storytelling that leads into the pay-per-views that we've been getting have not been very great. Have not been. There have been some good moments of good storytelling, but overall we have not been getting it. So now this all culminates from last November to this November. What did we get? Confusion. We got confusion here. Confusion. I'm sorry. This is what we got here. I'm not saying the wrestling was bad. I'm not. There's been really, certain points, good wrestling. I'm not going to tell you that the blood was 100% bad, but since we have blood and guts, it feels redundant. Remember, what did we get in the last Dynamite? We got blood and guts. We had a huge amount of blood being spilled by more than a few people. And that's the problem here when it comes to the blood aspect. It's not that it's bad, it's that we've already just seen it 10 days ago. And that's the problem with that part. The wrestling was fine. Some good wrestling, some looked like it should have been on Dynamite. Some good wrestling looked easily very good for a pay-per-view. But that is all we got. All we got left is the storytelling. Here's the beginning. Now, I did not watch the kickoff show, so I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was any wrestling or not. But they did have something totally redundant. That I'm going, why did they filter this over to the main show? Why? Why did you do that, AEW? And that was the parking lot brawl, where they fight in the parking lot. And then it filters onto the main show before we get to the main card. And that was, what was it? You had Okada, Kateska, and Hidosero versus Masked with Mystical Mask. What was the guy's name? I don't remember the guy's name. Mask Acciole, I believe, and Scaradia. I don't know the names because I haven't watched CMLL. These guys I barely know. I know Mystico. And supposedly he got nailed ahead of time before they even started fighting, so he wasn't even part of that. And the thing is, it wasn't even supposed to be a match, supposedly, but it became a match. And then Mystico eventually showed up, and what did we get? This was supposed to be for the trios CMLL match, supposedly. No. It's trying to understand this smudge, because when it showed up, I'm like, what is this? Isn't this supposed to be on a kickoff? Did it filter onto the main show? And then they say it's a CMLL Trios title match. And I'm going, why is it here? Why is the CMLL Trios tag title here? Is this part of the main card? And they said, no, it's the kickoff that filtered onto the main show, which shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry. Wouldn't it have been better to do this on Dynamite, where we get more traction, instead of being here? And I don't even know where it was. It had to be near the end of the kickoff for it to actually happen, because we got a good amount of it here. And Kateska and Okada didn't want to work together Okada didn't want to work Kateska. He going like this to him. And pretty much they lose the match because neither one of them could really work together. So I'm like, what did we actually get in this match? CMLL, yeah, they got on a pay-per-view, yeah, but wouldn't it have been better to make it mean something instead of just throwing it on near the end of the kickoff show, filtering onto the main card saying that it's from the kickoff, but it's really not part of the kickoff because it's kind of quasi on the main card. I don't care what anyone says. If it's on the pay-per-view, that means it's part of the card. Saying that it isn't is bullshit. So you did a partial match on the kickoff with a partial match on the main card, which added more time to the show, which could have been cut back. Again, they do a lot on the show. And I don't care what anybody says. They didn't need to go there. Okay? They didn't. I'm like, guys, if you're going to make that, why don't you just make it part of the show? Why you keep filtering something that was on the kickoff onto the main card saying, oh, the fighting's going on, and it's still, make it part of the show. Make it the first match. Or leave it on there, or show it on Dynamite. I find it to be a waste of time. How long did we have that match? That added time to the show. That made 9 matches. 9, if I'm right. Wait, let me make sure. I think it was 9 matches. 9. I think it was. And I'm like, either give it time on Dynamite, or make it a exclusive on YouTube, which is fine, or make it part of the damn pay-per-view. I'm sick of this. It's part of the damn show. It's the first official match. Moving on. First, let's go to Pac versus Darby Allin. Now, I actually had to refilm this part. That's not the reason why I cut before my battery was dying. But I tried this already once, and I remembered something, and it pissed me off, and I had to start over as I'm doing now. We got a match that was supposed to be a straight match between Darby and Pac. Pac's my boy. Pac's the one I like. Pac's my favorite wrestler. He is. The Bastard's somebody I really like. He's got a great ability of wrestling. He looks like he was cut out of granite. He's just built like a brick chicken house. But he is the Bastard. But they don't do anything with him. He's just part of the Death Riders as just an extra. To be honest, I'd rather see Pac actually leave AEW and go to TNA. I'd rather see him go to TNA, and I'm not even saying TNA is doing great right now because we still don't know the extent of how far they're going to stretch and how much they're going to bend their asses over for the WWE, because they are doing it. They are. Not saying that WWE isn't giving them something, but it is obvious they're like this, and they're getting something going up there. It's the truth. But I'd rather see him go to TNA. I'd rather see him go to damn TNA than this. Because if he's not going to become the leader of the Death Riders, if Claudio Castagnoli's not going to become a part of the Death Riders, which I'm like, why the fuck not? I'm like, what? I don't understand. I don't get it. So, the match itself was fine. Seeing Claudio be a part of the match was Claudio part of the match? I'm trying to remember. A lot happened on the show. This is like 9 matches, guys. It's hard to remember absolutely everything, even though I got notes. I'm like, let me go into like this. No, Claudio wasn't part of the match. That was part of the Casino Gauntlet. Sorry. And I got a lot of thoughts on that. But what did we really gain for Pac? Nothing. What did we gain for Darby Allin? Yeah, he got something to do, but what did he gain? Pac beat him, but then it's like, are you just teaming Darby, who is here working with Moxley, who supposedly is still supposed to be one of the top dogs, and you brought him down to Pac's level, who should have been built up by now. They should be doing something with him, and they're not doing anything with him. So it's like you went and took Darby, who was popular here, and you brought him down and made a downgrade due to the fact of no story with him and Pac. There's no story. And if anybody says, well, it's because Darby's a hardcore wrestler, that's not enough. We already know that. Why would Pac just make this decision arbitrarily? We don't see him talking with the Death Riders. That's the problem. We don't see anything, so the story there doesn't exist. They just threw them together and said that line because they gotta have some reason. And it's not a story. It's just not. Particularly that Pac had to cheat to win. He didn't win clean. Moving on. Match 3. The 4-way for the semifinals stipulation for the women's tag titles. I'm like, Sisters of Sinner in it. The Babes of Wrath. The Timeless Ladybugs. And then you got Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne, who don't feel like a team. You know who Megan Bayne should have teamed up with if she couldn't have Penelope Ford by her side? Camille, who's supposedly still paid by AEW and is doing nothing. She's not injured as far as I know. Why couldn't you use Camille? I don't feel nothing from Marina Shafir. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not saying Marina's a bad wrestler. I'm not saying what she did in Blood and Guts wasn't good. She really did a good job in it. But what have we seen from Marina Shafir for the 11 months until the tag tournament happened? A big goose egg. Nothing. The one I rather would seen is Camille come back and team up with Megan Bayne as the two biggest bitches that are on the damn roster. They literally are the two biggest women there. And you only seen one, and we haven't seen the other one in over a year, as far as I know. Yeah, she went and did American Gladiators. I know she did that. But as far as I know, well, she did American Gladiators, I believe. Or Gladiators. I think they're called American Gladiators again, or Gladiators. She did the movie with Tony Storm and everybody else, including Naomi. And what has she done now? Nothing. She's sitting home still being paid, as far as I understand. Unless they released her, she's still paid by AEW. Why not bring that big-ass bitch over there to be with another big-ass bitch and make them the biggest big-ass bitches there is in AEW? They legitimately are the biggest, strongest women that are there in pro wrestling, and they got them and they don't team them together. You put Marina Shafir there, someone who hasn't done anything in about 11 months. And it's not even her fault. They just done nothing with her except hold a briefcase and try to choke guys out. And then we get this match, which I'm like, the quality of the match was not bad. Let's make it clear. It was not a bad match. There were some botches, yeah. That happens in any 4-way match when it comes in a tag. But you literally having a match. This is not part of the tournament. This was a win to give you a stipulation for the tournament. You're telling me that these women are not interesting enough with the first title tournament for them, for the tags, for the tag division. They formed a tag division, they have the tournament, but it's not interesting enough. So you have to throw a stipulation in the semifinals to make it more interesting? I don't get it. I don't know about anyone else. They may say it's great. I don't. By you using a stipulation in the semifinals for whoever wins the title, wins this match, and goes against someone else, they pick the stipulation, that shows a weakness of the division. That you couldn't just give us a straight tournament, make the women interesting by, guess what? Letting them interview, letting them talk, showing their personality before the match, after the match. Let them talk in the ring. Let them talk outside the ring in the back. Let them be interviewed. None of it is there, except for maybe one team. And that was the Babes of Wrath. And I know people can say, well, Megan Bayne had something. Yeah, but that was before the entire thing started. But guess who had it during the match? I mean, during the tournament. It's been the Babes of Wrath. This pissed me off. So you give, and I gotta check it because I don't remember who won it. It was, and I'm surprised about this. I would have thought the Babes of Wrath would win, but they chose to give it to Timeless Love Bugs, Marina Shirakawa, and Tony Storm. So they have the stipulation going into the match. And whatever stipulation they choose, the other team has to abide by it. But you couldn't just try to make these women interesting. You had to use a stipulation to make them interesting. Bad booking. Now, I know people are going to say, dude, there's nothing wrong with having a stipulation match. Even you say, yeah, that's true. If the story requires it, if you got two really charismatic characters, or team for that matter, and they've gone against each other, and they've talked, and they've shown their personality, eventually a stipulation might be needed. But here, none of the women are allowed to talk. There's been no in-ring segments, no backstage segments, barely any interviews. Yes, the women are known. They have history. But nothing to build into the damn tournament. And they refuse to book them that way. So now, using a stipulation to make the semifinals mean something on Dynamite shows bad booking. Moving on. Let's go to FTR versus Brodito and Brody King. I'm going to say this. Did I like Brodito? Of course, I said, I mean Bandito and Brody King. That's why I don't like to call him Brodito, because I'll forget Bandito's real name. Brodito was interesting because it was a rare thing to see that they actually complemented each other with personality. Even though we did not get any segments on Dynamite, maybe a few on Rampage and they talk, we got very few segments on Dynamite hearing them both talk. Very rare. And Bandito is not the problem here. Brody can talk for both of them. But we got very little. But they got over with the fans. Doing the Macarena in the ring seems to get people going. But did I believe they were going to win against FTR, who has been well built at this point? Even if I don't like the build, they have been well built. No, I didn't expect them to win. I expect them to job. And if they didn't job, I would have thought this was the most stupidest booking that you would have done. Because at this point, Brodito, they're supposed to be over with the fans. By beating even FTR, yes, that would give them more clout, but they need more substantial teams other than FTR. They just do. And to be honest, they've blown through almost all those teams. That's the thing. They have blown through almost all the teams. Other than the ones in the RH, which they rarely show on Dynamite, they had no one else to go up against, so FTR would be the best option, which it was. And was I happy about the vid pack they showed earlier with Stokely? It wasn't bad. In fact, I want to say this because I may forget about them. More than a few vid packs were shown, like with Darby Allin, they showed a vid pack. They showed FTR having a little vid pack with a little story with it. I will say that wasn't that bad. At least they did give us some measure of story, or at least some interest before the match started. A little vid pack. So I'll say that. But the story wasn't very strong with them. Just, that's the truth. It's just not a very strong story with FTR. Even though they are the tag champs now, and they had a story trying to rise back up again, they really haven't been pushing them with good storytelling. They just haven't. Moving on to the gauntlet. This gauntlet pissed me off. It pissed me off. You know why? The opening really angered me. and then what happened after the opening even enraged me more. Tony Khan decides to have Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley go up against each other. Many people say, hey, this is going to be interesting. I didn't want to see them up against each other immediately. I know they were both in the tournament. I would have liked to see Bobby or Shelton as first, and then maybe 6 or 7, you have Shelton or Bobby come in to face each other. But no, you have them start out at the beginning, and then you bring Ricochet as number 3. And then as it begins to build up, you lay them out. Well, technically, Ricochet laid them out with the demand early. They were both laid out before even the match even got anywhere after him. And they stayed outside, supposedly unconscious, screwed up, for quite a while until most of the people came in. And then they started getting to the ring where they weren't going up against each other anymore. They were just acting like a regular tag team. And then you decide, as the first person to give this title to, which I'm not against, because I had a feeling they were going to do something with Ricochet. He wins the title. He is now the new AEW National Champion. All right. But why did you have it like this? This gauntlet felt like crap. You had 2 dominant wrestlers start out. You don't let them wrestle more than less than a minute. You make them get laid out early in the match. They finally come back. They don't go against each other. The only ones that we saw that went up against each other was Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. They were the ones who did a little bit of headbutting a little bit. That was it. This felt half-assed. This did not feel like a tournament. It felt really half-assed. And I'm not against tag teams going into a tournament. But you don't even give them a chance to even wrestle one another. Not even a minute. You let them grab each other's legs, and then Ricochet comes in, beats the crap out of them with the rest of the band, and then they're out of the match for a very long time. And then when they come back in the match, they're basically acting like a tag team. Not saying they had to just go at each other immediately, but when they were in the ring by themselves, they could have done something. They could have faced one another. That didn't even happen. They were just kicking people out of the ring. It just sucked. It's not about the quality of the match. It's about the outcome of the match. And how the wrestlers were structured within the match itself. I'm just saying. It just sucked. Next. Let me give you like this. Do I like Mark Briscoe? Hell yeah, I do. That boy, I like. His vid pack was done very well. Just like all the others, they built the vid packs pretty well. This is the only story you were getting, really, for Mark Briscoe. When he should be dealing with Hangman Page, he didn't get that, so he went to Kyle Fletcher. And the story there has been decent, that they had 5-4. No, 3-5 when it came to who was winning, Kyle ahead. And I can understand the story there. I can say that this was one of the most strongest stories that AEW has had over the last several months when it comes to trying to build up a Mark Briscoe. Seeing that Mark was going to lose and he would have to join the Gonzalez family, it was one of the best stories, but at least it would make some sense. They had to give him some type of stip. So the match itself was fine, but it was blood. Here's where blood started showing. We started getting blood here. And it was Kyle who was bleeding more than anything else. And eventually, Mark won. Mark won the TNT match. No DQ. Cool. I was fine with that. It was okay. I did not have a problem with that match. In fact, I did like the match. I did. I was glad to see Mark Briscoe winning something because he deserved it after all this time. Now, here's a story that I was not feeling at all. One I was not feeling, which also had blood from not one, but both competitors, and that was the no-holds-barred match. Now, when we have the TNT title, it was a no disqualification match. You can do whatever you want. This one was no-holds-barred for Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley. And I'm like, what are we doing? Now, mind you, I know the story. There is a story. But here's the problem. It shouldn't exist. It's not a bad story, but the story should not exist. You know why? Because Jon Moxley should not be wrestling. Sorry for the noise. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry I yelled into the mic. I'm sorry. I may have to leave something there saying, watch your ears. But you got Kyle O'Reilly, who made him tap out twice. Not once already. And the thing here is, the first match, he DQ'd it because he didn't want to tap out. The second match was a big schmoz, and eventually he had to tap. That should have been enough for Jon Moxley to have a new story where he has to go away for a while. Or the Death Riders saying, this ain't right. Of course, we did get something when Moxley lost the match because he tapped out again, and you saw Claudio being stared at by, not Wheeler Yuta, but I think it was Daniel Garcia. And he's looking at him, and he's looking at him, straight at him, after Moxley's acting like he's so great after he beat the crap out of Kyle, after he already looked like he messed up his arm, but he still tapped. And after the match, he beat him up again. But the thing here is, Daniel looks at Claudio, he's going, and Claudio's doing this, and that, let's go, move on, let's go. That's all we got. Now you're going to say, well, there you go, it started. This should have started over a month ago. This should have already started. Moxley has been losing consistently, or he had to cheat to survive. That should have been enough for the Death Riders to say, okay, there's something wrong here. And we should have already had him disappear. Or the Death Riders would have already been telling them, you better start winning or we're done with you. Nothing. And only now that we get this slight hint of maybe something might happen. Maybe. And I'm like, what the fuck? This should have already started at least a month ago, or at least a couple of weeks ago. And this is all we got. And it didn't need to happen. This story should not exist. Kyle O'Reilly, I don't hate him. But let's make it very clear. Kyle having another match against Moxley was not necessary. The first match, Moxley DQing the match, fine. The second match, he gets tapped out, fine. That should have been the end of it. The Death Riders should have looked at Mox and say, we need to talk. Or Mox himself says, you know what, I got to take a break. Bye-bye all. It should have happened. And it didn't. And we're still going. Moving on. Let's get to the $1 million match, which I was not interested in. I wasn't. I know that there was a good chance Kenny and the Bucks may come together. That's been speculation, and I did think of it a little bit, but I tried to keep an open mind because I didn't know how far they're going to go with this. I've always known the Bucks were already on the rise to change from being heels to face. We already knew this, but I was trying to keep an open mind. But here's the problem. How many money matches have we gotten in the last 6 months? You tell me. 4? 3? Easily 4 matches. Where what? It was 300,000, then another 400,000. I think we had what? 300K. Then we have 400K. Then we have 500,000, and now we got $1 million. That's 4 freaking matches within about 6 to 8 months. And I think they were all bunched up within the last 4 months. 5 at the most. I'm burnt out when it comes to money matches. And that's bad booking. bad booking that you made money match after money match after money match after money match, and then you culminated to $1 million match. But the problem is you did so many matches before this one that didn't include the Bucks. And wait a minute, I think it's more than 4. I think we got 6 matches in the last 6 months. Because we had other people do money matches as well. We had, what, a $450,000 one? And I think another $300,000 one? So I think we had about 6 or 7 matches. I say 7 in the last 6 to 8 months. I'm sorry, I don't care. The story for the Bucks I knew was going to happen, eventually culminating where they're going to meet up with Kenny and maybe he'll forgive them. But I don't care about the damn money match. Now, the deal here was the Bucks were with Josh Alexander, who's not been much use lately. He's just been an extra. And it was going against Jurassic Express and Kenny Omega. The match itself was alright. But when it was over, you saw the Bucks win. They got the money. And I do believe it was Jack Perry who jobbed to Nick. And Don was happy as hell, making it clear, we got the $1 million, you're going to join the Don Callis family. And then the Don Callis family whooped that ass. They started whooping Kenny, who at that point during the story had a messed up leg. And the Bucks are looking at the money, they're looking at Don, they're looking at Kenny, they're looking at the money, they're looking at Don, they're looking at Kenny. Don's telling them, don't worry about him, who cares about him, let's go and enjoy our money. They throw the money down, run back into the ring, save Jurassic Express, saves Kenny, and they made up with Jurassic Express. They stick their hands out to Kenny. Kenny switches them away, and they expect, okay, we're done, sorry. And he hugs them. But he doesn't get near them, but he does hug them. He does hug them. And now they don't have no money. Don Callis family has all the millions. And the segment in the back, when it came to the Don Callis family, was the wisest thing to do. Even though I don't understand why we still have the Continental title. It's the unified title, but see it like this. If you want to keep the Continental Classic going, just call it the unified title of the International and Continental title. There's nothing wrong with just calling it the unified title. The Continental Classic match can still go on with the unified title as the one they're going for. But no. Okada still has the Continental title. And now, Kyle Fletcher is angry that nobody was there for him. The Prime Okada, the Prime Kateska would not help the Prime Kyle. And he's upset about that. But he says, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going into the Continental Classic and getting a new title. But then, before that, Kateska is arguing somewhat with Okada. And he says, you know what? I'm going after your title as well. Well, he said that before Kyle. But now we got Kateska and Kyle going after Okada's Continental title. What type of story we're going to get there? I don't know. But it is a story in the Don Callis family where it can implode. But the question is, how are they going to make it implode? Okay. Let's see if I'm missing anything. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anything. I don't think I forgot anything. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did forget something. I did forget one. Mercedes Moné versus... Let's put this in perspective. Did I believe Mercedes and Chris Statlander did a bad match? No, they actually did a really good match. But here's the story. Mercedes has beaten a Chris Statlander twice. But Mercedes has never been able to win the big one. Not been able to win the world title. She tried now twice. This will be the second time. And as you already know, she lost the championship. She lost it. She didn't get a chance to win it. So I'm like, you got two women where they do have a story. One woman has never beaten the other, and the other woman has never been able to win the big one, even though she's won all these other titles. So there can be a story here. But the problem feels like there's something missing. There feels like there's something missing in the story. There feels like something is missing. And I don't know what it is. On paper, this should be fine. This should be a good story. You got Mercedes, who has 13 belts. She's trying to get number 14. But she's never been able to win it because the last time she tried, she couldn't get it done. Then you got Chris Statlander. She has gone up against Mercedes twice now, and she couldn't get it done either. And I'm like, on paper this looks fine, but it still feels like there's something missing. And I'm going like, what's wrong with this picture here? Why am I feeling like the Mercedes and Chris match is missing something? And I realized it. They're both boring. They're both boring. How? How can you make Chris Statlander feel boring? How can you make Mercedes Moné feel boring? How? How could you do it? Where both women have a story that would work. Simple. Their bookings beforehand have been terrible. When it comes to Chris, what has she been doing? Flipping back and forth as heel to her face. And hasn't felt really important while doing it. And then she wins the title. And nothing changed. She still feels empty. And then Mercedes, going off to all these other promotions, winning all these titles, which most of them we did not see. To the credit to AEW, they did show a few of those wins, but not all of them. And then the TBS title was not defended often. And in this situation, I think she needed to defend it more often, but with women that were credible. And that was the problem. Whenever she defended the TBS title, they were not very credible women, and there was no real strong story. Yeah, Chris Statlander was one of those people she did it with, but that was during that time when she was flipping back and forth, and there was no interest. So now we're bringing two women together who do have a story, where one has never been able to win the big one. The first time she tried, she couldn't do it. And the other one is going against the same woman where she lost twice to. But it still feels empty. How? In the end, Chris wins, of course. But it still feels empty. And here's the thing. Who's going up against Chris now? You tell me. Who can Chris Statlander go up against that's credible? She's gone against almost everyone on the damn roster. Who? Who is left that she hasn't gone up against that feels relevant? No one. So then she still feels exactly the same. Moving on to the final match. The steel cage match where we got blood again. We got Joe versus Paige. Now mind you, there was a twist at the end which I didn't see coming. Even though I thought of it, I thought I knew it was coming. No, I didn't. I was wrong. The match itself was fine. But this is now the fourth match where we've seen blood, I believe. So we had Kyle Fletcher in that match. He was bleeding. You got O'Reilly and Moxley bleeding. You had, who else was bleeding? There was someone else who was bleeding. I forgot which other match was it. That there was also, it was the $1 million match with Josh Alexander. He started bleeding. He cut his head and he starts to bleed. So this would be the fourth match where blood was seen. And this one, the blood was very red because there was a lot of bleeding in that damn match. It was just heavy bleeding from Joe, heavy bleeding. Well, Joe was the one who was bleeding the most compared to Hangman Page. It wasn't a bad match. At one point, the ref gets nailed, and we got Powerhouse Hobbs back. He was trying to help out. They got Shibata, who went to get the title, tried to get into the ring, but he couldn't because Eddie Kingston was interfering with that. So in the end, the person who got into the ring to help out was Hook, trying to wake up the ref. He grabs the title, and it looks like he was going to hit Joe with it. He hits Hangman Page in the face with it. And the ref wakes up, and he wins. And I'm like, okay, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming. Okay. At least this is different. You wouldn't expect Hook to turn, but he did turn. Was it a good turn? It was an okay turn. But once the dojo shows up, the ops dojo shows up, all the people that's working in the dojo from Samoa Joe, lights go out. And I'm going like, who could this be? I thought maybe Swerve, but then I thought Chris Jericho. If it's not Swerve, I thought maybe Chris Jericho was coming back. That's what I thought. Then the fire of the house, and I knew, okay, it's Swerve. Swerve's back. We get Prince Nana coming out. And I gotta say this. If you heard Hangman Page's music, it sucked. That song sucked. I don't know if it was just this one-time thing, but I did not like his song. It sucked. But when I heard Swerve's song, that sucker's fire. I did like his song way better than Hangman Page. I don't know if that's his new song or not. I don't think it is, but if it is, I hope he goes back to the old one, because this current one really does not sound good. It sounds like shit. But Swerve's song was hot. I liked it. Everyone was liking it. He comes down to the ring, and guess what? Samoa Joe offers him Hangman Page. But he doesn't take it. He basically he basically nails all of the dojo. And you got Joe still bleeding like buckets. You got Hook, Shibata, and Powerhouse Hobb walking back. But by the end of it, you got Swerve standing right next to Hangman Page. Now, I want to say this right now. I don't know if they made some extra exclusive that's going to be on the AEW YouTube channel. I'm going to have to check. But here's the thing. I knew sooner or later they're going to team these two up. They will team them up together. It was going to happen eventually. I knew it was going to happen. So this part of the story, I knew it was going to happen. And I also know that it'll probably be pretty good. So I will say this part of the story from this show is going to be and was decently good. So what did we get here? Did we get a great show? No. Nope. Storytelling was the major issue. It was not the blood, even though it felt redundant, as I said in this video. The blood felt redundant because we had blood and guts. It felt redundant. They didn't need to bleed. Now, accidental bleeding, that's one thing. But we had not one match where, like, Josh Alexander cut his head and that was it. We had 4 freaking matches of blood. 4 out of 9 matches, including that match that filtered over from the kickoff show to the main card, which means it was a main card show. It was a main card match. That's bullshit. They did more work on the main card than they did on the kickoff show. This is bullshit. So we had 9 matches. But it's like they didn't need the blood. The wrestling, for the most part, was fine. For many of the matches, it was all right. Seeing how Ricochet was given a European uppercut by Claudio Castagnoli, where he just got laid the fuck out, was nice. There was a lot of stuff that went on in Gauntlet that was pretty good. I didn't mention it. Like, Davis did pretty good. But the key here is this. It wasn't the storytelling. That was the bad problem. It wasn't the blood, which felt redundant. Because we just had blood and guts. It was the storytelling. I'm sorry, wrestling. Not Sorry. The wrestling was fine. The blood was redundant. But the storytelling was the major issue. Across 9 matches, you got storytelling for what? 3? Maybe 4? But 3 matches had decent storytelling. But that's it. The rest, no. So this show, I'm not going to tell you it was 100% bad, but there's not a lot of story in it. And that's what people are wanting now. They don't get it. As I said for Blood and Guts, short-term gain, long-term loss. You're giving a shock value without substance that will last beyond just a few weeks. And as long as they keep doing it, the shows are going to flounder. That's the reason why the shows don't have many people. Now, mind you, that place was packed, which was good. I think it was over 10,000. I think 5 to 10,000 people. I don't know what the number was. You could tell me below. I don't know what the number, but it looked packed. So that's good. But that's the pay-per-view, not the regular Dynamite or Collision shows. They need to fix their shows. But it's just me, and I hope you enjoy this Full Gear review. Give me a comment below. Peace.